Hello and welcome to the Blessings in the Streets podcast. I am your host, Joseph B. Roberts, and in studio with me today is a phenomenal woman that I had the pleasure of connecting with about a month and a half ago. We connected across social media lines, um, made some inquiries about her possibly being on the show, and she graciously has accepted, taking time out of a very busy schedule to hang out with us to share a bit of her journey, her story in life, particularly as it pertains to being able to overcome the challenges and adversities that come along with life. She is an author, an international motivational speaker, singer, songwriter, screenwriter, entrepreneur. She's a mom, but most importantly, she's a woman of God. And again, I am so pleased to have her on the show today. I'm excited to hear about her story. So without any further delay, ladies and gentlemen, allow me the pleasure of introducing to you Miss Allaina Maria. Allaina Maria, thank you so much for being on the show.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the honor and the opportunity.
Absolutely, absolutely. So before we jump into our segments, I do want to give you an opportunity to give the audience a little brief introduction about who you are, where you're from, what you do, kind of give them a taste of who is Allaina Maria.
Okay. Well, he did give you a couple of the things that I do professionally: singer, songwriter, motivational speaker, internationally, screenwriter, entrepreneur. But those are just things. At the core of me, I am a mom. I am a lover of people. I'm a woman of God. I'm a woman of femininity, of beauty, of grace. I'm a woman of fairness and kindness. I love to connect with people, be around people, get to know people, and enjoy people. But again, at the core of me, Allaina Maria, I'm a woman of God.
Love that. Love that. And it doesn't get any better than that. Woman of God says it all, even with all the other titles that go along with that. So again, pleasure to have you aboard and excited to hear your story. So we're going to do just that. We're going to jump right in it. So um, when it comes to telling our stories, I am a firm believer that in order to capture the full essence of one story, it's really important that we take a moment to reflect back on where it all begins. And so that's exactly what we're going to do right now. So if you would be so kind as to do us the favor of taking us back to those childhood days and kind of share with us what was it like for you coming up, fond memories that you have about coming up, as well as if there were some challenges along the way, please feel free to share that as well.
Absolutely. So I know a lot of people out there can relate. That's in my age range and above. I'm in my 40s, so in my day as a kid, we ran outside. We drank from the water hose. We played kickball. We went to the sherbet lady around the corner. We played with our friends. We rode bikes, played freeze tag. I was a product of that, spending the night with the cousins, eight, nine of us on the floor asleep at grandma's house or at auntie's house. That was how I grew up with a lot of love and family all around me. I had a single mother, um, raising three girls alone. Our fathers weren't particularly in the picture. My two siblings, they had the same father. I had a different father, and I experienced my first heartbreak very early in life. I wanted to connect with my father because, I looked just like this guy, and I loved him because that was my dad. He is my name. His name was Albert Washington. I'm Allaina Washington, so and I wanted to connect with him. And I would always try to call and call and call. And for some reason, his wife wouldn't allow me to speak to him for whatever reason. And I'll never forget a particular day when my dad called and he said that I was messing up his family, simply
Mm.
trying to know my father. And my mother at the time, she said, "What did he say? What did he say to you?" And Mama Bear came to the rescue, and she gave him some choice words and politely disconnected the call. And she made sure to turn around and fortify me as a kid and remind me I've done nothing wrong. She let me know, that I was loved, supported, and I thank God that my grandmother had eight children, two girls, six boys. So I've always had wonderful male influences around me. So you know how some people they grow up looking for that male affirmation because they are don't have their father. Thankfully, for me, God had a ram in the bush. That
Mm.
wasn't my testimony. It was a small season where I missed my dad, but I had so much love all around me that I wasn't looking for validation in men. And I thank God for the men, even like I grew up in the church. I sang a lot, lot, and traveled with the church. And even the men at the church, they protected the young girls and loved the young girls and took good care of us. So I had love all around me. So what I, initially thought I was missing, I had a whole army of men say, okay, that's just one, but here we come holding your arms up, Allaina. You're different. You're special. Growing up, I went to church. My sisters, they could care less about church. My mom wasn't really going to church at that time. She's a minister now, but at that time, the church band was picking me up. I was going on my own accord while the other friends and their teens was going out. I'm at church on Friday night because I have to sing, or I'm celebrating and worshiping God. So I've always, had a call on my life, but my childhood overall was a very, very good childhood. I grew up in the projects, and they're like, what good can come out of the projects, Allaina Maria?
Mm.
I can. Yeah, it's not where you start, it's where you go. So, as far as my childhood, I had a very good childhood. I had a very good mother. I had a very good family, crab boils, galore. We're a seafood family. So, we always hung out Christmas, Thanksgiving. So my childhood was a very good childhood. Like I said, the major hurt was that disconnect from my father, but having all of the support around me, I was able to be okay. And I thank God for that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I appreciate, of course, being transparent and sharing,
Yeah.
specifically, of course, the pain of having a father who not only wasn't physically in the home, but even with your efforts of trying to reach out to him to make a connection, he
Yeah.
wasn't interested in having that. And,
Yeah.
and as a father of a daughter of my own, it pains me to hear something like that because I can't imagine, knowing how close I am with my daughter, I couldn't imagine having a strained relationship or my, actually just flat out rejection of wanting to, connect with her as if she's interfering. Even if me and the mom didn't work out, no child should have to go through that. But, with that said, I'm a firm believer that God doesn't allow us to go through these storms, through these challenges by accident, that they are a setup, they are a positioning, if you will, for you to encounter some experiences, albeit, sometimes hard to
Yeah.
process. Encounter those experiences for your bigger purpose that he has in life. You talked about being a lover of people, really wanting to just pour into, to uplift, to encourage, to just give all of yourself to other people. And part of your ability to be able to do that, especially for those who are walking around in this world broken, from a variety of different reasons and circumstances, you too have to be broken. You too have to have gone through, you too have to, have experienced some of those storms in life for you to even be relatable, for them to even be able to connect with you. So God knows what he's doing in that regard. And even when it feels like we're absent or we're missing something in our life, in this case, missing that father figure, I love the fact that you pointed out and gave credit to how God made sure that he surrounded you with positive male role models so that you didn't feel the need, if you will, to seek that affirmation or that acceptance from men just kind of randomly, which is a very real thing that happens with a lot of women, young ladies who grow up without their dads, which is for my men who have an opportunity to listen to this episode. You need to understand the value of your presence in your child's life, especially your daughters. There's a special certain type of bond that is just there between father and daughter. So as I said, even if you and the mom didn't work out for whatever reason, do not, miss out on that opportunity to connect with that child and build that relationship in spite of things, again, not perhaps working out with the parents on that end, because it means so much. But like I said, God is always a provider. Your more specific words were, he provided that ram in the bush for you. And I think that was a perfect illustration for that. Again, whether it's men in the church, men in your family, you were protected, you were covered, because again, God had some work for you to do. He had a purpose for you to do. So he wasn't going to allow you, in spite of the circumstances, he wasn't going to allow you to be taken out. He wasn't going to allow you to be destroyed and beat down to the point to where you couldn't recover from that. I'm sure that's what the enemy would have wanted. But,
Absolutely.
God had a different plan for you. And it's manifesting itself in all the variety of different ways that we already have spoken about, that you have tapped into in terms of your gifts. that you are sharing with the whole world out here. So again, I appreciate you sharing that part of your story. So with that said, as we go through our childhood, eventually we branch off into adulthood, of course, and
Mhm.
the experiences become, more broad, more expansive. But in the midst of all of that, you start the older you get, you live long enough, you're going to also experience some storms,
Oh
and
yeah.
those storms have a tendency to, at times elevate to the point to where we every now and then we get hit with storms that are really heavy on us, to the point that we, even if we're strong in our faith, even if we're just a strong person overall, tough skin, sometimes the weight of the storms are so much that we find ourselves facing some challenges that we don't necessarily see a way out. We're
Yeah.
we're worried, we're stressing, we're anxious, we're frustrated. Like, how am I going to get through this?
Yeah.
Because I can't throw any money at this. I can't pick up the phone and
Right.
make a phone call to make this go away.
Yeah.
I can't call in a favor to make this go away. This is just me facing something that only somebody bigger and greater than me can handle, and we know who that is.
Oh yes.
Um, but even in those moments, sometimes we question even God Himself. Sometimes we question, like, okay, God, how you going to help me get through this? So that being said, tell me about a time when you found yourself in that type of situation where you didn't see a way out, you didn't know how you were going to survive, how you were going to overcome whatever that moment of adversity was, that you're going to share with us. Kind of walk us through what that experience was like for you, and what was ultimately the turning point where you began to see some light at the end of the tunnel of you being able to kind of recover and come up out of that situation.
Absolutely. So it's still a painful place. Thankfully, I don't live there anymore, right? But I'm still human, and my humanity shows up from time to time. But I thank God I don't live there. There's a long time where that was my residence. I
Mm,
lived there, but now I moved to a greater home, and I'm able to be okay. But I had a son, and he was born at 5 months, 27 days, 1 pound, 6 ounces. He was just the tiniest little thing. He never made it home. He was in Orlando in the NICU. I had never even heard of a NICU. No one in my family, none of the women have ever had like sick babies. If they did, it's just like an ear infection or something. Nothing to that magnitude. So I became a NICU mom back and forth I'm from Daytona Beach, so I'm driving back and forth to Orlando on the interstate. Some nights staying in the Ronald McDonald House. There's one particular day where the nurse called, Miss Allaina, we need you to come on over. George is having a rough day, baby Georgie. So I load up the car, drive over, walk in with my things. I see him looking at me when I walk in. I put my stuff down, turn around, lean into the crib, kiss him. He looks at me. Not even 5 minutes. Not even 5 minutes, and he flatlined.
mm,
He flatlined.
mm,
And so I'm thinking, hey, y'all come turn up his oxygen, or, you know, and it continued to buzz. And so now panic is setting in. So the nurse, she's sitting at the little station. She jumps up, comes in, look, and it's still flatlining. And then the doctors and then everyone flying in the room, and they're trying to give him chest compressions and doing all they can. And my baby waited for me to get there to die. He waited for, I felt, I can't even describe the feeling that I felt. The feeling was undescribable, to say the least. He had ups and downs this whole time, but he always persevered. This time it was final. Death is one of those things that are final. I don't care how much money you have, how much prestige, you just have to live through it. It's nothing you can do to turn it around. And baby boy he had a trach, to help him breathe. And after everything was called, Daytona, like I say, is about a 40-minute drive. So I'm on the phone with my family. They're hightailing it, trying to get there because I'm there alone with just the doctors. Right? I need my mom. I need my sisters. Like, I need his dad. Like, come, guys, come. And this was the first time I was able to hold him without all the tubes. He's
mm,
always, so every time I held him, I had to do all kind of maneuvering. But this was the first time I held him in my arms without all the rigmarole. But there was no life. Those facts together, like the fact, these are facts. Not, my son was gone, and I'm sitting there all alone, and it haunted me for years. I appreciate him waiting for me, but it also haunted me for years to know he sat there and suffered until I got there. because he just wanted to say goodbye. The grief that I felt, the pain that I felt was just unimaginable. I sat in the funeral home with my mom, George, his father, and his mom, and we just sat there, allowed my mother to make the arrangements. I'm just sitting there, just lost in the daze. There were days after the service, I just sat on my floor and just cried. There were some days, I'm a very feminine woman, right? Femininity, beauty, grace. I'm all about taking care of Allaina. There were days where couldn't even get off the floor and shower. Grief, it felt like an anvil was sitting in my chest. I couldn't find the strength to lift my legs to stand. I went through that for a long time. My mother had to come over and just make sure I was eating, make sure because I just didn't understand. I'm thinking, I went to church and, my childhood I sacrificed, and you got some girls who all they do is pop out babies and give them to their mother. And, that humanity part with why not, why me, why not them? You know how we go start playing that blame
Mm-hmm.
game. But at the end of the day, why not me?
Mm-hmm.
Why, what makes me exempt, from pain? Does it feel any better? No, but, you know, so it took a long time. I wouldn't go to church singing. Who, me sing for God? Nah. I was so angry. I was so angry with the creator. Um, I remember, and I know it sounds foolish, but just to share some of my brokenness, I literally would take an invisible bow and arrow and cock it back and shoot it towards the sky so it could hit God in the heart to show him how I was feeling. Like I was grieving so bad, that's all I knew to do. You know, just over time, my family, coming around, many people say, the first week everybody's there and then everybody disappear after funerals, but what, after the funeral, after the fried chicken and the green beans, where's your support, right?
Right.
Again, that family that was there for me when my dad wasn't there, that same group of people was around me again, rallying around me, making sure that I was okay, showing up when they having family get-togethers, showing up. I had a car. They didn't care. Come get dressed. We take you to. They made me because I was still living. I was still alive, and they didn't want me to grieve myself away from here because that is a real thing. You can grieve yourself to death. The weight I felt for years, I learned how to mask it for years. I looked good on the outside, but inside I was a walking, talking shell. My heart was beating, my blood was pumping, but there was no life because I just couldn't reconcile what I felt with losing that child. Certain things on TV, I would see his little body in the coffin. I didn't understand it. What helped me get through it was love.
Mm-hmm.
My family would not let the finger off of the trigger. They held me down. They kept me going. And my mother prayed for me and prayed with me. And I know this is going to seem cliche and taboo, but my belief in the one that I felt that hurt me was the one that I turned to help heal me because I was always a believer. And as much as I didn't want to pray, the pain got so unbearable, I could do nothing but pray. You know what I mean? So I had to turn to the one who I turned it from to help me get through it. And just time. That's how I managed. Then I have two children and they need me, you know, so I couldn't just, drag around, because kids are products of their environment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if mommy's always downtrodden, melancholy, broken, sad, then that's the spirit of the house, So I knew my son wouldn't have wanted me to just be moping around and not giving his siblings proper care. Should I grieve? You betcha I should grieve.
Mm-hmm.
A child should bury his mother. A mother shouldn't be burying her child. I, the natural order it was just a lot. But just time helped me to be okay. My children helped me to be okay. And then understanding and accepting that with as parents, we want to teach our kids, we want to lead our kids, we want to mold our kids, but at the end of the day, they are their own person with their own ideas, their own life, their own experiences. I had to accept the fact that that was his journey, not mine. Albeit 6 months, but that was his journey. There had to be something else left for me to do because I was still here.
Mhm.
Had to be. So I started finding things in life to enjoy, investing in my kids, going to Disney, finding ways to pull myself out and celebrating what I yet still had. And that's how I started finding light on the other side of this thing. Yeah.
Wow. Again, first off, uh, appreciate your transparency and sharing this part of your life. As you stated, and you, even if you didn't say it, I think it's reasonable to conclude that, while you've been able to move forward, in spite of the pain, I can't imagine that this is a conversation that's easy to have, but it's definitely a conversation that's necessary to have, which is why, again, I appreciate you sharing it because, like you said, when we go through our challenges, our adversities, our pains in life, like you said, a lot of times we fall into this trap of kind of saying, why me? Why do I have to go through this? And you pointed out a very, great point that we all need to keep in mind, that we all need to embrace, which is why not you? Because last time I checked,
Yeah.
Nobody has suffered more than the suffering that our Lord and Savior took on for things that he did not do. He took on all that sin of the world, sacrificing himself on the cross. And so when you think about that sacrifice, when you think about that pain, something that none of us would ever sign up for to do,
Absolutely.
it makes you kind of reflect when you get to complaining about stuff. And I'm not in any way, I want to be clear to you and to our listeners, I'm not in any way trying to minimize losing a child. Like you
Oh,
said, it's totally outside the natural order
absolutely.
for a parent to bury child. I've had the unfortunate, experience of knowing people who've had to go through that, and
Yeah.
just the pain in there, just to see that, to witness that, you can't help but to hurt for them,
Yeah.
but you will never understand what they're feeling.
Yeah.
The significance behind that. I also like the fact that you pointed out why, how grief can impact you. That you can run into a situation where you can literally grieve yourself to death if you're not careful. And I think the thing that's important for us to take away from that grief moment, which you've kind of tapped into, that is the humanity side of you says that it's okay for you to grieve. It's okay for you to feel the way you feel, the hurt, the pain, even to the degree of the anger towards God. A lot of people might find that, especially even as believers, sometimes we might find that as being as you say, like a taboo type of thing. Like, how could you be mad at God? You're a human being. You absolutely can be mad at God. And God is okay with that. He's not going to be offended because you're angry with him, because he understands that we don't fully understand the why behind some of those storms and those pains that we go through. All we know is we lost someone near and dear to us. In this case, your son, and like you use the comparison, like I'm seeing all of these other young ladies out here popping babies left and right, and just like as if it's nothing. They don't even have the same love or dedication or concern. And here I am, trying to do it all the right way, trying to be that supportive. Not, you could have even taken on the role, just even when you think back to, you talked about earlier about the rejection of your dad.
Yeah.
You could have easily rejected your son. And when I say that, rejected him in the sense that he's as you said, a micro preemie. He's barely, he's as tiny as can be. He's hooked up with all these tubes. There are some parents, believe it or not, that would be rejecting of that. They'd be like, I don't want that kid. He's not normal. He's not regular, if you will. Look at him. What am I supposed to do with that? They might even be low key hoping that something happens so that they don't even have to assume the responsibility of care that might come along with that. But again, having you having gone through that place of pain yourself and knowing what it means to be rejected, in spite of you not having tubes and being a preemie and all of that, you understood today that's my son, and he deserves the love and the care, that all that I can give him. And God didn't make a mistake in bringing him into this world the way that he did. And I think that was definitely God intended. Just a mere fact that your son, as you said, it was literally like he stayed alive just so
He
you
was
can have that opportunity of
made
closure
it back.
for his
Yeah,
life. And I know I've personally witnessed that, and known of others who've witnessed that with loved ones in their life that hold on, that all the prognosis said that they're about to go, but they hang in there because they want to make sure you're okay. They want
yep,
to have that opportunity to say goodbye to you in their own
absolutely.
way of being able to do it, even if no words are coming out of their mouth. Just the presence of you being able to see that. So many things in that experience that you're sharing that are important to highlight. But again, God doesn't do these things by accident. He doesn't allow you to go through them by accident. And so, I think it's important for everybody to know you'll never get over this.
Oh,
But it was important for you to get to a point where you could move forward in terms of understanding God still has some stuff for me to do. He
yes.
allowed me to survive this. As painful as it was, He allowed me to survive this. I
Mhm.
still have moments from time to time.
Oh,
I
yeah,
still think about it, but it hasn't weighed me down to the point to where I can't move, where I
absolutely.
can't, I can't, have any indication of forward progress, because that's important. When you're called by God to do the works of pouring into the lives of others, part of what those other individuals that He's predestined for you to come alongside of, that they need to see, is they need to see your ability to be human, but to
Absolutely.
also not allow the storms of life to keep you stuck.
Yes.
It's I have my moment. I take the time to process that moment, but then at some point I have to surrender to God and say, "Okay, God, this is more than this is bigger than me. Where am I supposed to go with this? What am I supposed to do with this? You have the answer. I don't. Show me what to do." And the mere fact that you allowed yourself eventually, after you kind of work through that humanity piece of it, to allow
Mhm.
yourself to be open to what God had in store for you, you said, well, first off, I'm going to make sure that same village that I allowed you to grow up with, they still there. So they're going to
Yeah,
be part of the crew that helps to keep you comforted and keep you uplifted.
absolutely.
So we're going to start with that. And then I'm going to start revealing some things to you on how I want for you to minister to other people in the respective gifts that you've already shared, that you've been able to minister in. And so again, it's a part of the plan, and people just have to understand that when you're called by God to do a great work, part of what you sign up for is you have to be willing to accept the fact that you're going to be tested and have to go through some storms, maybe some to the extent that are going to be greater than the people that you come alongside of, because it's a part of that building up, that spiritual development.
Right.
I like to call it like it's almost like your spiritual workout, to build up that spiritual core, that spiritual mindset, that spiritual endurance, that spiritual, overall well-being, that mindset. You gotta be you gotta, just like you would work out in the gym, you gotta work out in the spirit, in a sense, so you can be prepared to be used in that manner.
Absolutely.
Um, so it's all a part of the process. But again, I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
Such a powerful story there, and of course, and I don't know how long has it been since this took place?
16 years.
16 years.
16,
Wow.
16 years.
Wow. So yeah, that's definitely a difficult thing to go through, but God has placed a strength in you that has allowed you to still stand upright and still
Yeah.
be able to
Be
push
okay.
forward.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Awesome, awesome. So when you do find yourself facing challenging times, I mean, obviously what we just discussed here was a very major monumental moment, but all storms aren't like that. Sometimes they're just
Right.
the day-to-day lifing type stuff. I'm curious to know from you, what is your routine, your regimen, if you will, that you like to tap into when you are facing adversity? Like, what exactly do you like to do that kind of helps you to keep a level head? But, these are some of the things that I like to practice, that I like to engage in, that helps me to work through, to process my way through this moment of challenge or adversity. What works best for you?
Immediately what comes to my head is self-care.
Mm,
Um, being a mom, it was always making sure my kids are good, and then I'll see what Allaina needs next. My kids are going to be good regardless.
Mm.
I'm at a place where I know if I'm watered, then I can have healthy roots and produce good fruit for my children to eat from. So what I make a priority in my life is self care. When life is lifing, as the young kids say, I do things to heal me. I love getting massages. I go and get the load off. And I know, like, wait, how does that help? Taking care of you helps you deal with life just a little bit better. We live life, we pay bills, we have this, and that. But a moment to just seed into you can cure a lot of what ails you. It can keep you from making a lot of bad decisions, keep you from making a lot of rash decisions in the moment because you're just so overwhelmed. Simple things is getting in your car and going to get your favorite cup of coffee, taking a moment and holding that cup in your hand. You know what that makes you? That make you feel good. This my favorite here. Drinking that coffee, just you in the car driving with the windows down. These are things that I do for me. Those simple things. I'm a writer. I'm always on my laptop doing something or in a meeting or something. But there are some nights I close the laptop. I love Antiques Roadshow. I'm a young old lady. I love watching Antiques Roadshow where they evaluate the different pieces they bring in and put a price value. I turn on Antiques Roadshow. I don't get to watch much TV because of my life. I still work. I'm working towards full-time entrepreneurship. So my days are stretched to the limit. But when I am just overwhelmed, I know I have things to do, but you know what? I'm not going to work myself to death either. I close the laptop, put on my show, prop my pillow up, and sit and watch TV and relax. Giving Allaina time to be Allaina. We can get so lost in everything else that we lose ourselves. And I know it sounds so small, but self-care makes such a big impact because when you start putting care into yourself, it changes your mindset. It changes how you deal with people. If you know you're caring for yourself this way, you won't allow certain people to do you any kind of way because you prioritize yourself. And when you prioritize yourself, it helps your self esteem. It helps your mental clarity. It helps you evaluate your circle,
Mm.
who you're around. Those things, when you start seeing yourself and seeing the higher part of you, it helps you to be a better you. And in turn, want to connect with better people. And I'm not downing anyone, but as you grow, everyone can't go. We know that's a fact. It is what it is. But self care is how I weather a lot of things. I don't try to jump. Like things happen all the time. I'll stop. I'm a coffee drinker. I go get me a cup of coffee, sit down and think about it. And that's some good coffee right there. And I'm able to clear my mind. So, and I'm serious to the listener. If you're hearing, put yourself first sometimes and watch how much better you feel about you and how much clearer you are with your life decisions.
Love that. Love that.
Yeah.
It makes me think about my stepdad's words of referencing self care was he always referred to it as healthy selfishness. There's a healthy selfishness that you
Yes,
have
it
to
is.
implement for yourself, and like you said, self care is so important. And there's not a one stop shop of what self care has to look like,
Absolutely.
but everybody should have a version of self care
Absolutely.
that they do in their life. Like you said, for you, it's massages and coffee, and your favorite TV show. For somebody else, it might be a brisk walk or journaling or curling up to a nice book or something. But I
Absolutely.
think but I think ultimately what's key with what you said, because this question was centered around how do I handle moments of adversity when I'm facing challenging stuff. Everything that you talked about was things that are sort of, I guess the best way to say it is this is a lifestyle that you have. So it's
Absolutely.
in essence what you're doing, what you're suggesting here is this is my way of staying armored up. So I'm not waiting, in other words, I'm not waiting for something bad to happen or a moment of adversity to happen before I start implementing self
That's
care.
right.
Self care is a way of life. I'm already doing these things. And because I already do these things, when the storm hits, then I'm not actually thrown off guard, even though I didn't know the exact time or the exact level of intensity that storm was going to hit me with. It actually ultimately doesn't matter because I've already been prepping myself. I've already been setting myself up to be ready for it whenever it happens because
Absolutely.
of the
Absolutely.
self-care. Yeah, because of the
Well, I
self-care
broke
that you implement for you or for the community that you have around. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I broke the curse of running on fumes a long time ago.
Mm,
I got tired of it. You go to bed exhausted. You feel like you've accomplished nothing in the day. I broke that curse off of me a long time ago, feeling I have to be Johnny on the spot for everybody. Like I said, when I'm well watered and well nourished, I am at my best for those
mm,
around me. We think, oh, I'm here. I got you. I got you. I got you. I got you. No, when you're nourished, your roots are planted stronger. You see what I'm saying? You're able,
yes.
the fruit that people pull off of you, you're producing fruit. The fruit that they pull off is sweet and it's nourishment, is health to thy navel and marrow to thy bone. You see what I'm saying? You're able to, what you're giving out is nourishment for the people, and you still have more nutrients to continue to grow. You're not running on fumes. So it is so important. Just those minor gestures make the world of a difference. And I will die on that hill, see about you, and watch how your life changes.
Yes, and that's that. I love that, and if I'm being transparent, I mean it's something that I'm still trying to embrace more and more because, like you
Yep.
said, that the running on fumes,
Hmm.
is that's a no go. That's there's no fun in that. To feel like at the end of your day, to feel exhausted, and you really know that you're exhausted when you can literally have a relatively decent night's sleep, and you already wake up and you're waking up exhausted. It's like you know you have to set that tone, you have to set that
Yeah,
environment, set that pace. And I know you didn't use these exact words, but when you said you're down the hill for this, that was your way of saying this is non-negotiable.
that
This is
God,
non-negotiable, that there is a certain boundary that is for me, and you either gonna have to roll with that or I'm sorry for you, but this is non-negotiable. This is when I shut it down at night. This is when I start it off in the morning. There's a certain love of me, which again, that healthy selfishness. There's nothing wrong with you loving you.
that's
That doesn't
right.
make you a bad person. That doesn't make you, not caring of others' needs or whatever. I'm just not allowing those things to, to dominate my life.
That's right.
Especially not at the expense of myself.
Right.
It's just not worth it. And more importantly, in order for when you take it to a spiritual level, when we talk about using your gifts and having God be able to use you accordingly in whatever way He wants to, part of that process is you got to have the energy to do it. I mean, if I'm not, like you said, if I'm not watered, if my roots aren't watered, if I'm not, if I'm not nourished, it doesn't matter what gifts I have. That nobody will ever see them, or they'll never get the full impact of them because I just don't have anything to give
Absolutely.
into it. Like what we always hear. I can't pour from an empty cup.
That's right.
I might be the best pour in the world, but what difference does it make if the cup is empty before I start tipping it? Who cares?
Right.
You'll never see it. That's definitely a sound plan that you have in place as far as your version of self care and making it a non negotiable thing. And again, I
Yeah.
would encourage all of us need to have some type of self care regimen that we don't wait for the storm to happen. We don't wait for
That,
the circumstance to arise. We're staying prepared and ready to go. And of course, you take it to the spiritual level. We staying prayed up. We're putting that whole armor on. We're ready because we understand, especially when you're doing the works of God. You got to know that you are always going to be under attack. So you got to stay ready. You just got to stay ready.
that.
So absolutely. So Allaina, when I'm curious to know if you had the opportunity
Mhm.
to speak to the younger version of yourself. If you could sit, the younger version of Allaina in front of you, when you think back on all the experiences and challenges and things that you've overcome and gone through, um, what would you say to her, or perhaps somebody that might be listening now, that's currently going through some of the stuff that you've had to go through? Maybe they've experienced what it's like to lose a child. Maybe they've experienced what it's like to feel rejected, whether it be by a parent or rejected by someone that they deeply cared for. What would you say to them in terms of encouragement, words of inspiration that you believe are key things that they should to tap into, to embrace, that you think would be beneficial in being able to not only deal with those specific circumstances, but just to be able to handle just adversity in general in life? What's the best approach to that?
Well, a grave mistake that I made is I stopped praying.
Mm.
I cut off. I cut off my communication. I stopped praying. So to the listener out there, to the believers, don't stop praying. The Bible speaks of there's a time for everything, a time to laugh, a time to cry, a time to mourn, a time to weep. Oh, there's a time for all of it. Life is going to come with ebbs and flows. But when the flows of the current is really heavy and you feel like your anchor is not holding, that's when you dig deeper. Don't stop praying. Don't stop praying. God has not forgotten about you. He's not forgotten about you. That's to the believer. I do realize everyone are not believers. So just to the listener, in general, because again, we live in a world full of people, for just someone who say, I'm not necessarily a believer in God or whatever. Well, believe, just remember you have a purpose. I always say there's so much potential in the grave. That's one of the greatest places with the
Mm.
most potential, in the
Mhm.
grave, right? Life is a gift. And for those of us who still have the gift of life, that means there's more. So remember, if you still have life, that's not the end for you. That's not the end. This is not it. This is just a moment in time where it hurts. But I promise you, if you keep walking and persevering, you'll heal. There is a reason for this. Don't give up. Don't quit. Stay the course. Stay the course. Those dreams, those goals that you had as a child, and you get older and you allow people in your ear gate. I can't see you doing that. I can't see you doing this. To the younger you, to the younger Allaina, block out the noise. Block out the noise. What you're hearing is not by mistake or happenstance. Those desires those things that you desire as a little kid, that wasn't by accident. Go get it. Go pursue it. Do not let the negative noise that you've swallowed, and when it's time to execute, you regurgitate it, and then oh, it's bitter. No, let me just swallow it back down. I just can't. Let it up, let it out, and keep going.
Mm.
Go after that and do not quit until you become everything that you desire to become. You are a party of one. When you wake up in the morning, you wake up with your thoughts, your goals, your dreams, your realities. I don't care how much someone knows you. No one knows you like you know you. So the things inside of you, go get it. Go get it. That's the advice I would tell everybody. Stay true to what it is you want to be and you want to do, and block out the naysayers. Block out the naysayers. Give this life everything you got. Every gift, pull it out. Leave here when it's time to die. You can just literally lay down, close your eyes, and rest on to the great beyond. You don't have to leave out of here with shoulda, coulda, wouldas because you gave it your
Mm.
all. Go get it. That's my advice.
Love that. Love that. Very sound, very to the point.
Yep,
Very applicable right away for those
absolutely.
who are tuning in. So, very powerful gems you just dropped there.
Yeah.
So, Allaina, it has been an absolute pleasure hearing your story, your journey, just seeing how God is moving in your life, and how you're just opening yourself up to receive it all, and being used by Him again in a mighty and magnificent way. You've already accomplished a great deal, and I just believe that there's so much more that we have to look forward to. So I'm excited
Okay.
to see where God is going to continue to lead you and how He's going to use you, and the lives that are going to be changed as a result of Him putting you in the faces of those individuals that He's predestined for you to
Yeah,
encounter and pour into. So that's just awesome, awesome, awesome. But here on the Blessings in the Streets podcast, what we like to do is take out an opportunity to love on you, to celebrate you, to acknowledge you. And so, if you got anything exciting to share that's going on right now, or coming up down the pipe, whether it's professionally or personally, doesn't matter, or it could be a little bit of both, please do share with that. So again, we can lift you up and celebrate you and acknowledge you.
absolutely. So, as she said, I'm an author, so I have books out. I'm so proud of those my babies. My first novel is an urban fiction novel called Maria, and that book is serving as my debut as a screenwriter. So
Mm,
I am working with a gentleman in Orlando. We're getting all those things together in the background. We'll be starting table reads very soon, selecting our actors. This is my first romp into the world of screenwriting and executive producing. So I'm learning so much, but I'm just so excited for those opportunities. So Mariah is coming soon, as well as I just dropped a 10-part Healing From journal series. As we talked about earlier, I'm all about healing, wholeness, addressing you. In these 10 journals, it's called Healing from me, healing from bad habits, healing from grief, healing from me, healing from relationship breakup. So it's 10 different topics. Everyone can find their place and journal and deal with themselves, because I feel sometimes you can journal what your mouth dare not say.
mm.
So those journals is just a safe place for you to see you, heal you, and address you. And then I also speak. I had the wonderful opportunity to speak in Gaborone, Botswana, at a virtual conference, and I just was just so grateful. But here on July 24th, I'll be in Chicago, and then November 20th, I'll be out in California speaking. So things are happening all around me, but I'm just so grateful for this opportunity just to share a little about me, Allaina Maria as the Allaina Maria 360, which is my brand, LLC. And, so just always just thankful just for a moment just to share what I got going on. I'm also currently writing music for artists, me and my sister. We have a little joint team where we write for artists. So just life is just unfolding and I'm grateful. So it's a lot,
That
but
is
I'm thankful for
awesome.
it all.
You are
Thankful
doing
for
some
it.
great works.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thankful.
So if people want to connect with you, whether it's to get tap into any of your books or
Yeah.
perhaps seek you out for speaking or any of that type, or again, for music, what is the best way to connect with you?
My website is AllainaMaria.com. That's AllainaMaria.com. And on there is all things Allaina Maria, my bio, my books, some interviews I've done, some information about me. Yeah, this is a one-stop shop. If you have any inquiries, there may be some aspiring actresses who may be interested once we get to the point where Mariah starts the table reads, and there may be some actors say, you know what, I'm going to keep my eye on the pulse and see when she starts making these announcements for actresses. So that would be a great place for you to contact me there. Let me know. We'll have information up so how you can send your information in regards to the selection process. Again, I am so green to all of this, but I'm so excited that I'm learning through it. But yeah, so AllainaMaria.com, all things Allaina Maria.
Awesome. Awesome. So to my listeners, you know how to reach out to her if you want to be blessed by any of the various ways that her gifts are being used. Please do check her out. Please do connect. Please do support. As you can see, this is a wonderful woman of God doing a lot of great works that could benefit a lot of different people from all walks of life. So don't let that opportunity pass you by. So again, Allaina Maria, thank you so much for being on the show. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I've been blessed. I know my audience has been blessed. So this was definitely well worth it to make this happen. And just a little snippet for our listeners. You don't know, but we attempted to try to do this show previously, and the enemy was busy just trying to make all kind of technical difficulties arise and things of that nature. And I've always been a firm believer, and Allaina Maria was right on it, reading my mind. When that kind of thing happens, that means the powerful story is about to be told that he doesn't want to have shared. And but we fought through it and we persevered and we made this thing happen. So to the enemy, I don't know what you thought you were getting ready to do, but it wasn't going to happen today. We weren't going to
Amen.
allow you to stop what we had to do, God's work today, to let this story to be told, to be a blessing to others. So I just wanted to share that with our listeners so that they understand that yeah, you're going to have the challenges in life, you're going to have the
Yeah.
storms in life, you're going to have the technical difficulties in life, but that doesn't mean that you should wave the white flag. That doesn't mean you need to throw in the towel. You keep fighting through, you keep persevering, you keep going forward in spite of all of those things. And most importantly, knowing who to lean on when it, definitely knowing who to lean on when it gets to be bigger than you. You should lean on them anyway, but if you don't currently have a relationship with God, I promise you it'll be the best decision that you ever make. And I would encourage you, today would be a mighty fine day to make that decision if you've not already done so,
Mighty
because he loves
fine.
us unconditionally. He wants nothing but the best for us. He wants us to be dependent upon him and lean into him, not just during the difficult times, but even during the quote unquote good times, because he loves to celebrate and bask in that as well, because he's the author of all those blessings anyway. He's the one that's making it happen for us anyway. So he wants that relationship with us. So please do keep that in mind. And remember here, if you've enjoyed, what we've talked about today, our content, our subject matter, just being open and transparent and just the sharing of the stories, please subscribe, please share, please like, please comment, because this is what the Blessings in the Streets podcast is all about. This is the whole purpose for all of this. This is not about status chasing, likes and comments and all of that. It's more about doing the work of God and just letting you know that no matter what adversities you come your way, no matter how many storms come your way, you're human. Allow your humanity to show, but again, don't quit. Keep that fight going. Keep that drive going. Keep pursuing your dreams. Keep doing the works that God has placed in you, using those gifts that God has placed in you, and I promise it'll manifest itself. Not only will it be manifesting in blessings in your own life, but the people that you're going to have an opportunity to bless. So with that said, remember, here at the Blessings in the Streets podcast, this is a place where your story is your glory, where your relationships are relevant, and your journey is your joy. I am your host, Joseph B. Roberts. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, as I said, keep fighting that good fight. Keep hanging in there. Keep leaning and trusting in the God. He knows the way. There's no problem that's too big, too great for him to handle. Turn it all over to him. Let him be your guide. Let him be your eyes and ears and navigating you through the ways and through the byways and highways of life. Trust in him, believe in him. And again, just watch him pour all the love that only he can give to you and into the lives of you and your families, Lord. So with that said, I look forward to seeing you next time. You take care of yourselves and have a great rest of your evening.